Hi, my name is Jill, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about walkaway. I made a video last week with no intention of talking about the actual walkaway movement because I'd written a book called Just Walk Away, and it's kind of an internal joke here on my channel where I talk a lot about walking away from the system, not the Republican Party. But I thought I'd go ahead and elaborate a little bit because if you watch that other video, you're like, what are you talking about? And that is a weekly video that I usually make just to talk to people who listen on a regular basis. So let's just take a step back and start over. My name is Jill, and I don't want to talk about just the walkaway version of the story. I want to talk about what it means to have a road culture life, because that's really what comes after you walk away. And it's easy to talk about what you don't want. The harder conversation is what you do want. And, you know, on a personal level, I did at one point, I was very democratic, almost bordering on socialist, I think, because I was young and I really wanted to help people and I wanted to end suffering. And 25 years as a social worker cured me of that dilemma. Then, you know, losing everything cured me of that there is a system out there that's going to help me. And since then, I've really been not just walking away from the system, but trying to figure out what I personally want to walk towards. And I really call that the road culture life, or my road culture story, because I like the idea of the road as a way of being, not just physically for those of us who are living in a more nomadic or different way. As you know, I like to live in a tiny trailer, but really that inner journey, the harder one. And what's even more difficult about that inner journey is to not just have the conversation about what we don't want. And I think most of us can agree, we don't want people to suffer. We don't want people to be poor. We don't want people to be sick. We don't want to have war. We don't want to have hate. We don't want to have anger. And it's easy to agree on these very simple ideas. What's more difficult is really the question that is the next step. They're sort of waking up is what you don't want. The harder part is what I like to call growing up. What are you moving towards? And then the even harder part is staying focused on what you do want, because it's really easy to get distracted. We live in a very distractible world, and it's exciting to be distracted, and it's easy to have temper tantrums, which we've all seen plenty of that online and off, about what you don't want. The harder conversation is always about what you do, and that's really what I call, you know, this road culture life is about the inner journey and whatever external journey you want that's moving you towards the life you do want. And what I try to do that's a little bit different here, as many of you know, as I wander all over the place in all kinds of videos, is focusing on what do we want. And it doesn't always stay the same, and it does change quite a bit. But the hard part is staying focused. The hard part is taking those little tiny steps every single day that move us towards the life that we do want. It's easy to say things like, I really want everyone to be happy and to have world peace. It's really hard to actually accomplish that out into this crazy and chaotic world. And part of that is taking a step back and realizing that there's no single person that can come in and save the day. There's no perfect system that's going to solve all of our problems. There's no perfect location that's going to keep us safe and never have anything bad happen to us. I could go on, but all you have to do is listen or read a little bit of history, and you realize the eternal human struggle is what do I want and fighting against what I don't want. And history is really us just trying different solutions out. You know, America was an experiment, and there are a lot of positive things about it, and there's a lot of negative things about it. And, you know, there's a bunch of people that want to go back to the way it was. There's a bunch of people that want to throw it out and just start something brand new. And then there's other groups of people who want to go to one of the Is, communism, socialism, fascism, capitalism, as that is going to be the eternal solution. I want to be Democrat, I want to be Republican. That's going to be the solution. That's, for lack of a better term, too simplistic and a childish way of looking at what the world is actually about. And that's really what my work and my channel and my belief system is all about, is letting go of the simple and the childish and the easy and the temper tantrum of demanding what it is you don't want, right? Just like the little 2-year-old. I'm having a temper tantrum because I don't want to eat my broccoli. I don't know about you, I still have that conversation as a full-on grown-up adult, but I eat it anyways, and that's the difference. The difference is there's what I don't want, there's the temper tantrum about what I don't want, and then there's the adult version that says, but this part's good for me, so I'm going to find a way to choke it down. Usually that includes butter and cheese, because butter and cheese make everything better. Sometimes bacon does too, but that's a side note. So, but that I really wanted to take a moment to sort of capture this whole walk away movement because, as you know, for those of you who've been here a while, my channel has completely crashed as I've been trying to figure out what I want to walk towards. And I'm always really clear on what I don't want. It's harder to stay focused on what I do want, but I absolutely know that it's the inner journey that is the most valuable because that's the one that we take with us. That's the one we live 24/7. And that's the only one we can be responsible for and actually control. I know. It's so much easier, right, if everybody else changed and we could just tell you about what you're doing wrong, and then life would be perfect, and then we wouldn't have to think about anything, and we could go back to watching TV and eating popcorn and soda in our easy chair recliners. I know, it doesn't actually work that way. So that's what we're doing here. That's what my version of the road culture life is. It isn't about having fun traveling. It isn't about a specific way to live or a certain lifestyle. It's not about a political party. It's not about a country. It's not even about a specific culture, even though I've sort of taken to speaking about culture. Because I think that's how you change community and you change civilization. Not by creating a global, single, mono culture, but by the wild diversity that comes when each of us takes the time to look within and really decide what our personal culture, what our personal character is. And I had this brought up to me recently. There's a difference between a culture of personality and a culture of character. And I think that's going to be sort of my dividing line. I know Jordan Peterson talks a lot about personality characteristics. And those are important because those define a lot about what personal life choices we want to make, like what kind of work, how we want to live, those kinds of things. But I'm, much more interested in bigger picture stuff, how we as the individual through character contribute to culture, community, and civilization. Because I think that is one set of questions. There's plenty of people talking about what kind of personality you want to have. But it's much more difficult, and the less fun conversation is personal character as it develops our culture. So that's a little bit about what I believe this road culture life is all about. It's really the internal journey while we're focusing on what we do want and creating an external life that represents that. And that's all the magical diversity that comes together that creates a really interesting world and a way to live. That's never going to be perfect because there's no one or nothing outside of ourselves, right? That's going to be able to fix all our problems. Wouldn't that be nice if it was all perfectly pleasant? But it isn't the way it works, and that's not what we talk about here. So I just wanted to say, one, thank you for if you're new. Two, I just wanted to clarify a little bit about what walk away actually means to me. It's more than just literally, physically walking away, which is kind of what happened in my case. But before I physically walked out of the system, I had many, many, many personal and internal walk-away moments that really solidified that I can't live in the existing structure as it's set up. And I got actually sane and happy once I walked out of it. But that's a different story for a different day. And so I just want to say thank you. If you're here, a little bit about what my walk-away version or explanation is, why I believe it's the internal journey about what we're walking towards that's really going to be essential to what both our personal life, our personal culture, our community, and in history, when they look back, what our civilization was all about. Who knows? So if you really are interested in that kind of big picture stuff, I hope you will subscribe and come back, because who knows if YouTube will actually tell you. And with that, we're going to take one big deep breath. I'm going to say, thank you for joining me here, because mine is called Survival Road, where I like to stay human, live free, and die wild. And with that, we'll see you next time.